Good morning, Mormons. It's good to be with you. I am Ryan, and I live here in Utah, and I don't even know who will watch this. This is my attempt at doing better at scripture study. That I enjoy social media, I enjoy making videos, I enjoy teaching, but sometimes I really struggle with my own personal scripture study. I do well for a while, and then I do horrible, and then I do well for a while, and then I do horrible. And so, what I wanted to be able to do is use this as an opportunity to share some of my own thoughts and feelings with anyone out there on the social media world that cares to listen. That if somehow I can also reach someone while I'm doing my own scripture study, fantastic. If nothing else, then it gives me a chance to verbalize what I'm learning at the time while I'm learning it, and that's always more effective anyway, right? Right. So, as I thought about my own scripture study and an area that and just wanted to do better in general, I thought, where do you start? Where do you start at improving your own scripture study? And the first thing that came to mind was chapter 2 of Preach My Gospel. Preach My Gospel came out when I was a missionary towards the very end of my mission. And it's an amazing resource. If you have never looked at Preach My Gospel, you need to. It's not just for missionaries. I mean, in the end, all of us are missionaries anyways, and all of us should be understanding how to best preach the gospel. All of us at some point or another are going to be teachers in some form, whether that's first and foremost as parents or as spouses or to a friend or your normal being called to be a teacher callings. Then all of us have the chance and opportunity to teach the gospel, and we need to be prepared for those times. And so, starting in chapter 2 of Preach My Gospel, the topic is, how do I study effectively and prepare to teach? And so, once again, if all of us are teachers, all of us should constantly be preparing to teach the gospel in some way or the other. And so that's where I'm starting right now. So if you have a copy of Preach My Gospel, I encourage you to pull it out and start taking a look at it as I go through it a little bit. And then once the video is over, spend some time there. It is a great resource. And so once again, beginning with how do I study and effectively prepare to teach? I believe it starts on page 17 of Preach My Gospel. I'm looking at it on the computer, but some of the great questions it starts with: why is it important to study the gospel? I know I feel better in my life when I study the gospel. Life just feels more concrete. I've noticed that time and time again. It's not just something in my mind. It's something that it literally helps me to feel better about my day, and it helps me to feel better about myself. I know that the second question that it says, how does my study affect those I teach? Going down in the first paragraph, it shares the scripture from D&C 11:21 that says, "Seek not to declare my word, but first seek to obtain my word. And then shall your tongue be loose. Then, if you desire, you shall have my spirit and my word, yea, the power of God, unto the convincing of men." Understanding that aspect, that in order for me to be able to teach effectively, I've noticed that I struggle at teaching when I haven't been doing as well at scripture study. When I have taken the time and the effort to really look at things and understand things, it is so much easier to follow the Spirit and just go where the Spirit says in my lesson to share what I need with who's ever there. When I haven't prepared effectively and haven't studied and don't understand the words like I need to, if I haven't treasured it up in my heart, then I'm just not as effective as a teacher. In the second paragraph, it starts with, effective daily study must always begin with prayer. I struggle with that too. I don't know how you do, but I could do a lot better. That sometimes I jump right in, or I reluctantly fall into scripture study. I don't really take the time to really begin with prayer. It says in here, study is an act of faith, requiring the use of personal agency. I never thought of it like that, it being an act of faith. It says, many missionaries struggle to know how to study effectively. Some rely heavily on others or on structured programs to tell them what and how to teach. While learning from a good teacher is very important, it is important for you to have meaningful learning experiences on your own. Getting good results from your study depends on having a strong desire to learn, studying with real intent, hungering and thirsting after righteousness, and searching for answers to investigators' questions and concerns. What are some of the questions and concerns that you personally have? I'm trying to think some of the ones that I have, and I know that in the gospel, I wish that I understood how to pray more effectively. I think that how do I break that barrier of laziness that I sometimes feel? How do I just go deeper in the scriptures. I think that's a huge. How do I develop that desire to study with real intent? Those are some of the questions I have. So actually, now we have this personal study area in the book, and I think it's beneficial to take a look at that. It says to take a look at Joseph Smith history 1:11 through 13. And if I jump there, this is Joseph Smith when he's reporting of right before the first vision, the events that led up to it, that he was reading in James chapter 1. And it said in the 5th verse, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and abradeth not, it shall be given him. Of course, the context for this is he really wanted to know what church he should join. He wanted to know what he should do. And so what I gather from this is he had real questions. I mean, right before this, it listed several questions. What is to be done? Who of all these parties are right, or are they all wrong together? If any of them be right, which is, and how shall I know it? And so I know I could do a lot better at approaching the scriptures with sincere questions. And then, of course, the result is it said that the Spirit hit him really strong. It said that never had Scripture come with more power to the heart of man than this did at this time to mine. It seemed to enter with great force in every feeling of my heart. I reflected on it again and again, knowing that if any person needed wisdom from God, I did. For how to act I did not know. Unless I could get more wisdom than I then had, I would never know. For the teachers of religion of the different sects understood the same passages of Scripture so differently as to destroy all confidence in settling the question by an appeal to the Bible. At length I came to the conclusion that I must either remain in darkness and confusion, or else I must do as James directs, that is, ask of God. I at length came to the determination to ask of God, concluding that if he gave wisdom to them that lacked wisdom, and would give liberally and upbraid not, I might venture. So I guess there's some of my own answers right there, that I could, one, do a lot better at asking questions and going to the scriptures with those questions in mind. I could do a lot better at then paying attention to the Spirit that I feel as a result of looking at the scriptures. What is Heavenly Father trying to say to me? What feelings enter my heart and then cause action or could lead to action if I follow those promptings? With Joseph Smith, he felt he must do as the scriptures direct, and that is to ask of God. And as he did so, we know the outcome, that it gave us this wonderful gospel. It opened the gateway to receiving more revelation and more knowledge. And so I suppose there's my own answer, is I need to do a lot better at asking questions and then following through on the feelings that I have in my heart once they come. So I encourage you to think about a little bit, continue maybe to read through in Joseph Smith's words, what he said, continue reading a little bit more in Preach My Gospel. What are you going to do to study more effectively? I'm going to take some time right now and keep going my personal study, but hopefully this gives you a little bit of a kickstart to your own day and your own scripture study. And I guess we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.